What's up, everybody? This is Guyman Adams from midcitydigital.com. And in today's video, I just want to go over a little bit of the backend client area, and particularly I want to focus on the basics of cPanel. So what you'll do is, if you've already set up a hosting account with us, or if you registered a domain with us, but particularly our hosting account is what we're worrying about today, you can go to the client area here, and when you click on that, it'll take you over to this window. And I've already pre-filled this here for convenience sake. And this is going to go into, this is kind of my dummy account that I set up just for testing purposes. And I've got a few domains on here. I've got a few hosting accounts on here. These are all accounts I'm kind of just playing with and testing some things out, testing out different plugins and themes and whatnot. So as you can see here, this is the main back-end client area for pretty much any one of our customers. It's going to look like this. It'll have your name up here, and you have your info over here. You can update that if you need to. You can order additional services, register a new domain, and log out right there, or log out up here. There's occasionally notifications up here if something's changed, and well, I've got credit for this account. Good for me. I mean, I am the owner of the company, so anyway, you can register a new domain here. Occasionally there might be like a little news alert or something here. This kind of comes from the knowledge base blog. So you'll have your most recent support tickets show up here. We're working on this affiliate program. You can go ahead and sign up for it if you want, but I don't know. I think I might need to disable that on most accounts and experiment with that a little bit further. But anyways, let's go into our hosting services. And the account I'm going to mess with today is going to be Mid-City Sample. This is where I really mess around with different themes and plugins and whatnot. So you can click anywhere on the row of whichever account it is that you're wanting to access. When you click on this link, it'll take you to the actual live website. So we don't want to click on that right now. We just want to click anywhere in this row. You can even click on the little padlock, whatever. And it'll just take you right over here to this level of your control panel. And this will show you, again, a button to link off to the actual site, to manage your domain, change your whois info. You get to look at your disk usage as you go, your bandwidth usage. You can add extra things like Cloudflare or whatever. We might add other services in the future. But right here in particular in this box, this is kind of a preview of what we're going to see when we really go all the way into cPanel. Your email accounts, you're going to want to set up email accounts. You might want to set up forwarders so it can, send your custom emails over to your Gmail or your Yahoo or your Proton Mail or whatever. You might want to set up autoresponders when you're on vacation or something. You're probably going to, at some point, want to access your file manager. Then we've got your backup here. If you want to set up a backup, that's pretty handy. Just in case something goes haywire, once your site's all set up, do this backup. You can set up subdomains. You can do add-on domains, and I'll show a trick to do this in a future video. It can help sometimes if you just want to have, just one hosting account and maybe, just one of your domains. Say you have several domains, but just one of them is the main account. Say the other domains, you just want to have like little, quick landing pages. You can use the add-on domains for that type of thing. I'll show that in a future video. Cron jobs, you probably don't need to worry about too much unless you're, more of an advanced developer. Same with the MySQL database and the PHP-MyAdmin. AW Stats is a good basic statistics thing where you can see, how many people are visiting your site, what kind of browsers they're using, that kind of thing. This quick create email account. This thing is buggy. You have to be sure to type in like a really super strong password. And what's frustrating to me about this is that it seems like because of that there should be a password generator built into this little segment. So I don't even really mess with this. I wouldn't suggest anybody mess with that at this point. We're probably going to work on that a little bit. Instead, just use the email account button right here. But before we get into any and all that, to go directly to cPanel, you can either punch in your domain name, like in my case for this one, I could either type in midcitysample.com/cPanel, and that would take me, it's the letter C, cPanel, like over here, and that would take me to the login directly over there. Or, to just save time and be more convenient, we can go right here and just click on this link over on the left that says login to cPanel, and it'll open up this window. Boom. So see, since we've already logged in, it already knows our login info and shot us right over. So we don't have to like punch it in separately if you go to your domain/cPanel. But either way, you can get here like that. So cPanel is a pretty common interface for web hosting, and most any company that you go with for hosting these days, they're going to have some version of cPanel. A lot of them will customize it really heavily. Some of them not so much. Some of them don't customize it whatsoever. We've customized it just simply by kind of doing this nice dark theme and just putting our logo right there in the top corner. But typically it'd have the cPanel brand logo right there. And yeah, cPanel is a really great platform. It's really universal. I mean, they have conferences just on cPanel. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick overview here. So if there's any particular thing in here that you're wondering about, you can always just hop on YouTube or BitChute or whatever, and go look around and find other tutorials from tons of people have done tutorials on every little aspect of cPanel at this point in some form or another. So you can check all that out at your leisure. But we're just going to go over this real quick. As you can see, we got a little search bar over here that just kind of helps you like go real quick to find some of these different modules. Or you can use this search function right here as well. Like if I wanted a PHP MyAdmin, see, I just type in PHP and bam, it pops that up. So that's pretty cool. And it's kind of a similar function over here in this little search bar. Oh, I just realized that's popping in and out right like that. Okay, cool. That was automatically open when I showed up here. Anyway, so over here, you'll have like your username showing up. You can click on this and it'll give you this drop down. And you can click on account preferences, and this just kind of determines where your notifications pop up. There's not a whole lot to that function. Password and security. It might be a good idea if if you really want to get hardcore about your security. After you've set up your account with us, you might want to go in here and go to password and security and update your password. And see, here's one of these password generators. There's a couple of different versions of a password generator built into cPanel that you'll come across. And this is one of them. When you click it, it'll just give you this crazy password. And, if you don't like that one, try again, try again, try again. And just whichever one you decide on, copy it, save it. In most browsers these days, like Firefox or Brave, they typically have password managers built into them. But there's also password manager apps that you can get. I might be setting up an affiliate thing with one of those relatively soon. So maybe more on that later. But anyways, otherwise copy down your password and save it somewhere very secure, offline. Write it down, hide the piece of paper away somewhere, and then click save and use password, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to do that at the moment, so I'll hit cancel. But there's that. That's something to think about. change the language, but we're pretty much all English here. We're a US-based company, so that's mostly who we're working with, so whatever. Now, here's something interesting. You can change the style of this. If you don't particularly like this dark background that we set up here, you can click on this and change the style. Now, I will say that I have noticed there's a couple of modules within cPanel where, for some reason, the text and the link colors and stuff don't properly update, and so it'll be like a black on gray or something weird. So sometimes it might be useful if you might want to hop over to, let's say, go to this light version. Then boom, it'll suddenly look like this. That's not quite as pretty. Let's try this basic. Yeah, I think I'd been working on the basic and the dark. Those are the two that I was tweaking before, not so much this one. But yeah, so this is what cPanel looks like with the basic standard interface. So I personally like the dark because it's just easier on my eyes. I'm always working late, and something about this color scheme. I mean, I use this kind of color scheme on Google or YouTube, any website that offers an option. I'll go with the dark theme, please, thank you. And of course, if you want to go super old school, you can go with this retro template over here. I mean, this there's a few hosting companies that still use this one by default, and it's kind of funny to me, 'cause I've been working with cPanel for like 10 years, almost 20 years, something crazy. But there's a lot of hosts that still actually use this retro thing, and it trips me out every time I see it. That just means they didn't install any new templates or anything, and whatever. But anyway, so you have the option to kind of pop through these different ones here if you choose. Update your contact info. This is if you want to put in an extra email address. There's this push bullet thing if you're connecting, your laptop and your tablet and your phone and all that. You got that option there. Anyway, support tickets. Now this is gonna just pop you back over here to this main interface. So this is back again to our main client interface. This is your support ticket area. So you mainly mess with support tickets over there. And kind of similar for this view billing information and upgrade, downgrade, reset page settings. This is for something different. I'll show you here in a little bit. But and then here you got any notifications that pop up. There's not any notifications typically going to go on. And then you got your log out button, of course. Now, when you're like, whoa, how do I get back to the home screen on the cPanel? You can either click the logo up here, or you can click this guy right here, this little icon. I don't know what you call that icon. But anyway, this little tic-tac-toe thing, that'll take you back. So I mentioned this reset page settings because, well, it's something really interesting. You can actually, any one of these modules, as we go through here, as you can see, my cursor changes. When you go to the top header section of each of these different modules, you have the option of moving these up and down. So that's pretty convenient. And one of the main things that most people are going to want to work with when they very first access cPanel is going to be their email. So by default, for some reason, the email section is like several things down. But anyway, just to go over the rest of the interface before we get into all this. Yeah, it's just general information over here. The current user, your domain. This is the shared IP address that we're using on our server. Last login from this address, and then we got usage statistics down here. Kind of some dry stuff. If we have emails set up, it'll show us how many. all that kind of thing. So that's just some kind of statistical info going down the side there. And again, this is the one main theme, so just, don't need to mess with the theme from here. If you want to change the color again, just hop up here and change style. So, emails. This is going to be the main thing most people are going to want to do, as I mentioned. So, I'm probably going to do a separate video that'll go a little bit more in detail on all of this, but the very first thing, you're going to want to do is just hop into the email accounts and create a new email account. And you do that, like you can see here that we have 5 accounts available and 0 used. So, because we're just using, this is the DIY startup account, the startup package, and you just hit create, and you can enter whatever email address you want. And again, here's this generate password thing here that this one's built in a little bit differently. So, pick whichever one you like. I'm not going to set one up right now, but you get the idea. I'm going to go into more detail in a separate video. And we're just going to go back for now. Let's just click here and go back to home. But you can also set up forwarders. Click add forwarder. And whatever email address that you've previously set up here, Joe Blow at whatever your domain is, you can forward it to joeblow@gmail.com right here, and then just hit add forwarder, and it's pretty much that simple on that one. We'll get into some of these other things later. As I mentioned, there's a lot of interesting options within cPanel. Autoresponder is handy when you're on vacation, like I mentioned. You definitely want to set up spam filters. Particularly when it's a brand new account. If you haven't already clicked this button right here, see, I just turned off Spam Assassin just to show you kind of what this looks like. So there, it's turned back on. You can check some of this. You can set up a blacklist for if you're getting like particularly spam from a particular domain or something. You can set all that up. You can whitelist like your friends if their stuff's going into spam for some reason. You can be like, whoa, okay, let me fix that. You can have it just automatically delete spam if you want to go super hardcore. Anyway, let's hop back over here. Again, I'm going to go into more detail about some of this stuff a little bit later. You can do encryption. You can get pretty hardcore here. Another typical thing most people are going to want to do right out of the gates, they might want to access their file manager. And this is like your actual web files themselves. This is midcitysample.com right here. Most of these folders you don't have to worry about. You can pretty much ignore the majority of them. The main one you're going to be looking at is public HTML. Public_HTML. This is where your live website actually lives. Now, as you can see, I'm kind of messing around with some WordPress stuff over there, kind of experimenting with some new plugins that I'm a little bit iffy on. I'm kind of messing with that over there. As you can see in this list, so you can either click this and it'll open up everything that's in this is the website itself, all the actual existing files. Or if you want, go back up here to your main list. You can just double click on this guy right here, and it'll open up the exact same thing. But here's your main home. So every time you want to go back, you can look at that. You can see I set up like a little test subdomain. I was kind of playing with some stuff. But you don't need to worry about any of these other folders that pop up. These are all just automatically generated by the server as we set up the account, and they make the site function. So that's essentially how that works. And yeah, I need to do a whole separate thing just on kind of messing around with File Manager, because there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do from right here. So if you're doing old school HTML, you can directly upload your files right here. Hit upload, and you can drag and drop it right into here. We're not messing with that now. But similarly, you could like click any one of these files and do download, delete, whatever. But that's for like typical HTML kind of approach. It's almost like this is an FTP interface in a way at this point. You can change all sorts of stuff here. We're not, again, I'm getting distracted with again, that's a whole other video in itself. I'm like, oh, I should point out this and this and this, and save that for another time. This images thing, most people aren't going to want to mess with this. I mean, if you got a kind of a, I don't know, say you need to scale some stuff or create thumbnails or convert things, you can use this, but most people are just going to do that in Photoshop or whatever. So most people don't mess with that, but that's there. Directory privacy is handy if say you're collaborating on a project with a couple of friends, and you want to be able to like have some kind of examples of what you're working on for your friends. You can sort of set them up in a private directory and password protect that directory. So, that's kind of handy, so you could like, you could either, you can see here, you could password protect the entire thing, or you could like go in deep and set it. But anyway, again, that's like another video. You can keep an eye on your disk usage, etc. This backup is super important. Like I say, once you're done launching your website, do a backup. That's real smart. The backup just gives you some basic stuff. Full backup, boom, you just do that. You don't really have to worry too much about other stuff. You can get more specific if you just want to back up, your database or just whatever, but just do the full backup and you're good to go. Now, FTP accounts, this is going to be related to this little icon up here that I neglected to mention. You could actually set up, let's say you get a web designer to work on your website, and you don't want to necessarily give them all of your top level master login and password and stuff. You can go here to this user thing and add a new user right here, webmaster, and click this button right here, and you can see you can give them access. Chances are webmaster will probably want to have access to your cPanel and be able to access email and FTP and possibly the web disk, which but just hit all. That's the best thing to do for that. Then hit add user, and then you can go in here, and again with the password generator, pick a crazy password for them, and once you do, confirm it, blam, good to go. Anyway, the thing is, let's cancel this because that's not really what I'm wanting to do right now. But you get the idea. You can go ahead and create a webmaster account where they can access the site via FTP, which is exactly what any webmaster would want to be doing primarily. They're typically not going to be messing around too much in your cPanel, but they might need to jump in and go like, okay, I need to create like a sales account. Say if they're setting up an e-commerce site for you, they might need to set up, say sales at midcitysample.com, and but you're off busy doing your own thing. You hired them for a reason, so they come in here and handle that. But otherwise, you just go here, FTP accounts, and you can just do the same thing. Just create a whole new account. Just I guess it'd probably be set up an email account first, and then hop in here and create this. Same difference really. Webmaster at Mid-City Sample, and password again with the password generator. See, this one's a little different, but there you go. I think you get the idea. But that would give your webmaster access to a totally separate account that's not necessarily your account, and also that way if anything screwy happens and they screw things up, you can kick them from it. You can just go delete the FTP account. You can just go delete the user account that you created, whichever option is best for you. But again, do those backups. Like I say, do those backups. Billing and support. This whole section, pretty much everything here just hops off to, back over here to our main client areas. So you don't really need to worry about that, but that's convenient to have that there if you need to, if you want to access any of that. Again, databases. This is something I'm probably going to need to access myself in this particular account a little more frequently, so I'm going to put this up here. So that drag and drop is pretty handy for that kind of thing. This area is a little weird. I'm gonna do a different video about add-on domains and subdomains. Most people don't need to worry about zone editor. This domains thing is weird because you're registering domains through the main Mid-City Digital site. So this is strange. Redirects that could be handy in some cases. This site publisher is weird. Like I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this, but it's an option if you want to. This is something that's like a default option within cPanel. If you just need to hurry up and blast out a really simple single-page generic site like ASAP, you can do this. Say for the business, and then you just like fill it all out, and it's just super generic. And all the files that it automatically generates will end up in your file manager, so you can go back and, say if you wanted to change the background, I guess you could do that. But, yeesh, we ain't doing that right now, so we're going to hop back over here. Metrics. This is interesting. Man, this probably deserves a whole other video as well, just for this whole section. Some of these are sort of useless in a weird way. Like, visitors is weird to look at, and raw access is weird to look at unless you know what you're looking for. Webalizer is pretty cool. Analog stats, that's interesting to look at. AW stats is the main one most people look at because that actually gives you some decent graphs and stuff that you can more easily identify what the heck's going on. I mean, you can see where people are visiting from and everything and all that stuff, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, we'll save some of that for a different video, kind of talk a little bit more about, statistics and analytics and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's go on security. Most people aren't going to mess with too much of this. Most of this is, you're not really going to be dealing through cPanel on most of this stuff. Our SSL is automatically set up the moment you have an index.html or index.php page set up on your site and actually working, then within about 24 hours, our SSL, our free auto SSL automatically kicks in. So, and you don't even have to pay extra for it. A lot of hosting services, they'll charge you anywhere from like $25 to $50 per year for that. Some even still charge like weird monthly fees for your SSL. So, I don't know why you'd do that anymore. There's services like Mid-City Digital where you get your SSL for free. But I think one of the main ones you should look at right here is this two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is big these days. If you want to get really serious about locking down your website, set up two-factor authentication. There's the Google Authenticator app for any smartphone out there. There's also the Duo app, and kind of either or. You just point your phone's camera at this QR code right here, and it'll take this, it'll pull all this in, and it'll spit out a security code for you on your device, on your phone, and then you just punch that in here. And if you don't want to do this, let's try that again. You see, it changes. This changes every single time. So I'm obviously not setting that up right now. So, but anyway, check that out whenever you're ready to like really lock down your site. Two-factor authentication is really key, and I highly recommend that for all my clients. So beyond that, we got software. A lot of this is going to be for more advanced users. Select PHP version is this is one of the little modules that I noticed I had to change the style because for some reason this is one of them that when I click on this, you see it's all this like gray text over the dark gray background. This didn't turn white for some reason, so I guess I gotta dig into the style sheet and fix that or something. But anyway, most of this is for more advanced users. This site software is this one's kind of pointless. I mean, it's like a lot of this kind of loops you back around. There's other ways to install WordPress that are better than that. Softaculous apps installer. Well, this is redundant because that's listed a little bit further below here. We'll get to that. Advanced, again, it says advanced for a reason. Most people aren't going to have to worry about this. But more advanced users, they'll recognize this stuff. And if you have any questions about any of this, look up cPanel on YouTube and punch in any one of these things, and it'll tell you more about it. The Lightspeed web cache is one of the kind of handy things that we have actually automatically built in that helps kind of speed up your website a little bit, particularly for WordPress. So let's jump back here. Preferences, again, pretty much a lot of this stuff, that's all the same stuff you see in this kind of drop down thing right here. And so yeah, the Softaculous apps installer is probably the most powerful part of this whole interface. And speaking of which, I'm going to, why isn't it letting me select that? I want to drag that up above. Something weird's going on my computer for some reason, but anyways, let me hop back here. Now, I was wanting to drag this all the way up to the top, but it's acting funny on me for some reason. Anyways, Softaculous is where you're going to actually you can install WordPress directly through this, and this is probably the easiest way to install WordPress on your website, and that is definitely a whole separate video as well. And as you can see, you can do Joomla, you can do PHP-BB, which is a really gnarly bulletin board. I've seen a lot of really fun forums set up in that. Open Real Estate's pretty cool if you're trying to do a real estate business. This is a really smart kind of out-of-the-box solution just to get you going, at the very least. A lot of people go full blast with just Open Real Estate. But anyway, there's a whole bunch of other options here that you can work with. And you can, just for shortcut's sake, there's all these different categories you can choose from. But I'm going to save that for a separate video, particularly on WordPress. I really need to do a video dedicated to the two main ways to install WordPress, and this is one of them right here. It'll just walk you right through it, and it's like, boom, suddenly you have a WordPress site. It's pretty crazy. This is kind of weird. This is redundant again, kind of pointless. Down here you have a little bit more advanced kind of backup options for restoring your whole domain and your whole file and directory. And that's pretty much the gist of cPanel in right about a little over 30 minutes, I guess. So I hope that was helpful, and be sure to visit midcitydigital.com and sign up for a hosting account and register a domain, and check it out. Tell your friends about it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Probably going to do one about loading up WordPress next. So stay tuned for that, everybody. Catch you next time. Peace.